Hi everyone, welcome to the first part of your orientation for the UW Montlake Inpatient Internship. We're all really excited to have you here and can't wait to meet you all in person. In these slides, I'm just going to kind of go over what it looks like in our pharmacy, what different shifts you will be working on, and then also what some of the expectations of the internship are. In this slide, we have the UW Medical Center mission statement, and our mission is to improve the health of the public. The 30,000 members of our community advance this mission through the excellence of their work in patient care, medical education, and research. For the vision, it's to provide a care experience for patients and their families that helps them achieve their personal goals for wellness and disease management, an educational environment for professionals, students, and trainees that prepares them for leadership in their professional careers, and a research enterprise for scientists that enables them to advance medical knowledge and clinical innovations with groundbreaking discoveries. In this orientation, we're going to go over our different team members, talk about the expected training schedule, some timelines that are important to keep in mind, and then different opportunities we have as part of our internship program. I wanted to create this slide just to give you an overview of some of the people you're going to be interacting with the most. So on top to be the 2 lead interns for this academic year. We are going to be your first point of contact if you need support as an intern, or if you have a concern you'd like to raise to the managers or supervisors. We are a good first person to talk to. Typically, we also have a resident, a PGY2 pharmacy admin resident. This rotates every August. Deborah is our intern manager. She is responsible for overseeing the intern program as a whole, and she is here to support us if there are other concerns or problems that we're having. Jen is a technician manager, and she oversees a lot of the training and compliance modules that we are going to be doing. She also is in charge of the outdate tracking, and you'll learn a little bit more about that, what that is when you come into the pharmacy. Lepi is also a lead technician. She oversees training and scheduling for interns and technicians. The main role that you'll see her with is helping make this schedule for us interns and for all of the technicians. So if you have concerns about scheduling or vacation, she is a good point of contact for that. On this slide, we have kind of what the expected training schedule will look like for your time during the internship. As you may know already, it is a progressive internship, so each year you're going to be picking up new responsibilities and training on new shifts, and it kind of aligns with what you're learning in classes so that you can try to reinforce the knowledge that you have. And I'll go into what the specific shift codes mean in some later slides. But starting out, you can expect to get trained on the carousel, delivery shifts, our front counter, and then learn what you'll be doing for your weekday shift. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what each shift entails and what the shift code means. And it can be really confusing at first to try to figure out what each shift code means because it's all just letters and numbers. But as you staff these shifts, you'll start to get the hang of it, and eventually you won't even have to think about what it means. So first we have our medication prep, dispensing, and delivery shifts. So on the carousel, you'll be picking and checking medications for patients. The hourly delivery, you're then taking those meds that have been prepared and you're delivering them to the PICSIS and med rooms every hour. Then we have our front counter shifts where you're going to be getting phone calls from other healthcare providers on the floor, answering med messages, tubing medications, and kind of helping out with general tasks in the pharmacy. And then we have our mixed shifts, which kind of have a combination of the picking side and front counter side. And these ones could be a morning or evening shift. And then we have our other shifts, which are going to be more about medication teaching and a little bit more patient facing. So first we have our medication reconciliation shifts, which would be WO or OEE. And WO is going to be an intern-only shift that might be your 4-hour weekday shift, whereas OEE is midday and it's a full 8.5-hour shift. But we don't really staff that one. But in this role, you'll be conducting patient interviews in the emergency department to obtain accurate med lists for the providers to have for the patient. And then we also have our clinical shifts, which would be CL4 or CL. You'll start training these ones your second year, and then CL would be a third year shift that you'd train on. So this one's you do clinical teaches, you do some dose monitoring and answer questions for the patients if they have any. CL4 would be a weekday shift, whereas CL is a full weekend day. And then finally, we have our satellite shifts. So in this hospital, we have our central pharmacy, but we also have a satellite IV room, ICU, and oncology. So they're just like different settings that you get to staff in and learn more about. So the first one we'd have is our IV room, and those shift codes would be V1, DV, or F. And in this role, you'll be sterile compounding IV solutions for the patients. In our ICU, you are also going to be compounding different solutions, but you're going to be in the ICU floors only, and you'll also get a little bit of a front counter component when answering medication messages. We also have an oncology satellite, so those shift codes would be CA, CA2, CA3, or CE. And in this role, the difference is that the compounding you're going to be doing is for hazardous medications and chemotherapy. So it's a little bit different techniques. And then we have a mixed shift, which is CE2, and that is a little bit of IV room packaging and also doing ICU lunch coverage. This shift isn't staffed as much for interns, but it is still a possibility. And with the satellite shifts, you probably won't start training on them until your second year. So now that we've kind of covered what different shifts look like and what they entail, now we just want to go into more logistics of the internship and things that you should know. So on this slide, we have some important timelines to keep in mind, and we'll send reminders too as these dates approach. But as interns, we are required to work some holidays, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the signups for these holidays will come out towards the end of summer, either in August or September. We also will be signing up for our weekday shift preference. So that's typically 3 to 6 weeks before the quarter starts, just so LePi can have an idea of how she wants to schedule people. We also have some rules for vacation requests, and we'll show you how to do that later. But in terms of when to request vacation, you must do it a minimum of 5 weeks before the vacation, but only up to 6 months in advance. We do only get 2 weeks of unpaid vacation per year, and the weekend before finals is off limits for time off requests just to make it fair for everyone. And we'll again show you how to do this in person. And then we also have our monthly intern meetings, which is typically the third or fourth week of the month and usually around 4 or 4:30 p.m. And the exact days of that and times will be announced at a later time. Okay, so now to talk a little bit about holidays and availability. So just in general, starting at the top here, whenever we have breaks, so that would be winter break, spring break, or summer, we're expected to have full-time availability. So that might be 4 to 5 shifts per week. Again, we are expected to be available full-time. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll be scheduled full-time, but we try to as best we can. Interns are also required to work one major holiday and 3 minor holidays per year. So major holidays include Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. And the minor holidays are Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, and Native American Heritage Day. You do get holiday pay on these days, so that's kind of a perk. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, we'll have signups for that in the end of summer, so either August or September before the school year starts. So that way you can plan around it for the rest of the year. Okay, so now to talk a little bit about shift coverage and sick calls. We have this little algorithm prepared for you that kind of shows you what to do and what steps to take if you need to get a shift covered. So in terms of that, things pop up and we can't always plan things that are going to be happening. So if there is, a shift that you got scheduled for that you need to get covered now, We really encourage you to try to find somebody to cover that shift or switch with somebody rather than calling out. Because when you call out, it creates a burden for everybody working in the pharmacy during that time period, because we're now down one person and the roles still have to get done because we are delivering patient care and we want to be delivering the best patient care we can. And again, when we're down, we don't want to be sacrificing that. So again, if you can't make a shift, totally fine. Just please try to find somebody to cover it. And to do that, you can follow this little algorithm we have. So if it's before the schedule has been released, you can submit a request in Kronos. And most of the time, LePi tries to accommodate our requests as best she can. So, the earlier you can prepare, the better it is for everybody. However, if that request is rejected or your time off happens after the schedule has already been released, you can contact somebody to try to find to cover that shift. So if you have somebody's phone number, you can try texting them. If you're part of the intern group chat, you can just shoot a message out in the chat and hopefully somebody responds. We will teach you how to use Kronos and how to check everybody's schedule so you can see who is available to switch with. And you can reach out to them specifically to see if they can switch with you. You have to wait then for confirmation from that person that the switch is okay. And once you have that confirmation, you will email Jen and LePi while also CCing Deborah, the lead interns, and the person you are switching shifts with. And you also need to wait for confirmation. If you don't hear back within 48 hours of that email, please send a follow-up email so that everyone is aware of what is happening. And then on the bottom of the algorithm, you can have an example of what that email might include. And that would be the shifts you're switching, what days it is happening, and like what the new schedule is going to look like. If it's the same day, you can also, and you don't know who to switch with, you can also reach out to the managers and see if we can come up with a solution. They might be able to, move things around to try to get it to work out so that you can take that day off and then still not be making the pharmacy short-staffed. And then as far as sick calls, we have the phone number right here to the front counter. If you're not feeling well, we don't want you coming in because first of all, we want you to get better, and we also don't want anybody else to get sick. So you can give this phone number a call as soon as you know you're not going to be able to make it to the shift, and just let whoever pharmacist answers, just let them know that you're sick and that you're not going to be able to make it in. And then finally, we just wanted to end on a cool note to show you some of the leadership opportunities you can have during your time with this internship. So in this list, we have the position, what year you can hold the position, and then what those duties entail. So at the top here, we have our lead intern. So that would be myself, which my name is Catherine, and Tao. And we work together to help create the intern meetings. We support intern scheduling, create training plans for people. And we also act as an advocate for interns in case any problems arise or we'd like to see any changes implemented. And so you can apply for that position your end of your first year. Then we also have our mentor-mentee chair, and this person manages and supports mentor-mentee pairings and tries to help the incoming interns feel more included and part of the internship program. And that one you can also apply for either at the end of your first year or your second year. We also have a social wellness chair, and this person plans social events and coordinates wellness activities throughout the year. So that would be things like our holiday party, our grad party, and then just any socials where we want to have some bonding. And this one you can apply for at the end of your first year or the end of your second year. We also have a clinical workshop chair, and this person reaches out to the residents and pharmacists to coordinate clinical cases for interns and learn more about topics we may be interested in. And this one is one that you would apply for at the end of your second year. And finally, we have our shadowing chair. And so this person matches and coordinates pharmacist shadowing opportunities based on interns' interests. So this one's a really cool way to try to get different learning opportunities for our interns. And this one you can apply for at the end of your first year or the end of your second year. And that's all we had for you for our first part of orientation. We're, again, really excited to have you join our team, and we can't wait to meet you all in person. So please feel free to kind of think of any questions you may have, and we'd be happy to address them in person when we see you. Thank you.